Behold, it is I, Mega Frog. I have risen from my California king-sized grave to make a single video about something I've never talked about and has nothing to do with my channel, but fuck it, we ball. So, let's talk about Shadowrun. I know, put the pitchforks and D20s away, because I think there's a lot of neat shit that this system has going on that you might not know about. Now, let's talk about RPGs in general for a second. My first tabletop RPG system was D&D 4th edition, which is bad for a lot of reasons that plenty of people have gone over before, so I won't touch on that. But when I played 5th edition, boy howdy, I felt so relieved. This system absolutely rocks, and I still play it and love it to this day. But over the years, I've started to run into issues and annoyances I've had with it. Like, why is the power gap between spellcasters and marshals so big? Why can I only attack once or twice in 6 seconds? Why does armor make me more likely to dodge an attack but not actually protect me from the damage of an attack? Why are there so many goddamn spells? I tried to gloss over this with homebrew, but the more I did so, the more complicated my homebrew doc became, the more confusing my table rulings became, and the more time we spent in bookkeeping instead of actually playing the game. So I tried shopping around for other RPGs. I found a few that I liked but my table didn't like, and vice versa. And since I know Pathfinder players are about to pop a blood cell right now, no, I haven't played Pathfinder and don't really intend to. But what I did find, after putting it off for many years, was Shadowrun 5th edition. And boy howdy, it brought so many solutions to the issues I had with D&D, and has risen above the rest as my favorite RPG system to date. And here are some of the reasons why. The die pool! This single core mechanic of Shadowrun is one of the greatest things I've ever experienced in a tabletop game. Instead of rolling one die and adding a number or two, you take the number, or 2, and that is the amount of d6 that you roll. At a glance, this might seem like a nightmare to anyone who has played a high-level spellcaster in D&D. But don't worry, because the math is way more simple than you might think. Instead of adding the result of every single die, you just count the number of dice that roll a 5 or a 6. And that is the number of hits that you get. So you might be thinking,
oh my god, who the hell cares?
So yeah, the die pool system is great, but not because of what it is, but because of what we can do with division. Let's go back to D&D for a comparison. Let's imagine you are a knight who is being swarmed by devils. He slashes fast and as furiously as possible, throwing accuracy to the wind. He gets one attack every 6 seconds. And if he's dual wielding, he might even get a second attack. Woohoo! See how there's kind of a tonal divide here? Sacrificing accuracy for attack speed is something anyone can do, but it's completely impossible to do in D&D. The system locks you into a number of attacks based on your number of actions, which makes fighting off large numbers of enemies extremely difficult for marshals. Enter the multiple attacks free action. When you make an attack against one creature, you can spend a free action to attack multiple different targets. You take all the dice you have and split them between every target, as evenly as possible. That is the die pool that you roll for each target. You're sacrificing your chance to hit for total damage. So yeah, splitting the die pool is a great tool for marshals to hold off hordes of swarming enemies. But what else can we do with this concept? If we can split this pool, what other pools can we split? I am so glad you asked, because this shit is about to go hard. Want to attack with 2 different weapons in the same turn? Split the pool. Want to throw multiple throwing weapons at the same target in the same action? Split the pool. Want to cast multiple spells in one action? Split the motherfucking pool! The multiplicity of dice has so many uses in game that just aren't possible in games that rely on a single die, such as a d20 or d10. So, with a pool of multiple dice, what else can we do? Well, we can use division, but we can also just use addition and subtraction. A +1 bonus in D&D is pretty substantial, since it increases your average chance of success by 5%. However, a +1 die pool bonus is a lot less substantial, since it only increases your chance of getting one more hit by about 33%. For this reason, we can justify adding or subtracting a die or 2 from a pool for small boons and banes. Shooting from a moving car? Take away 2. Shooting at something you can't see? Take away a whole 6. Aiming down sights? You get a die for each turn you spend aiming. Wind, glare, darkness, fog, or range? 1 for light conditions, 3 for moderate conditions, 6 for heavy conditions, and 10 for extreme. Admittedly, these modifiers can get hard to remember, so I do recommend having cheat sheets on hand. But being able to combine modifiers to get a more realistic battlefield makes it feel great when you bring the right equipment and horrifying when you don't. Oh yeah, equipment.
Equipment.
Generally, mundane equipment isn't incredibly useful in D&D. Why buy a wagon when you can just put everything in the bag of holding your artificer made? Or get your party wizard to carry everything on a floating disc? I've definitely had players and been the player who found creative solutions for normal things. But far more often than not, a single spell or class feature can do everything a set of tools can do, and better. So what would you spend your gold on? Perhaps your DM allows you to buy magic items, but many don't. In a traveling campaign, you wouldn't have much use for real estate or fortifications, so that gold often just ends up sitting around until you need it for bribery. In Shadowrun, the 6th world is full of neat shit that you can just buy. Guns, electronics, vehicles, drones, armor, fake ID, chemicals, explosives, tactical gear, and, oh boy, the thing we've all been waiting for, cybernetics! You can mod your body out to improve your physical stats, get armor, or even get cool new tools, such as shotgun hands, flying eyeballs, or wireless inflatable cyber titties. There is so much cool shit that cybernetics bring to the table that once again, closes the gap between martials and spellcasters. Cybernetics fill a similar role to magic items in D&D, but the difference is that players have more control over which cybernetics they can acquire, due to market availability rules being built into the game. Additionally, magic items in D&D are often equally useful to martials and spellcasters, but cybernetics are not so. The more you mod your body, the more your essence decreases and your magic attribute with it. So while spellcasters can absolutely take cyberware, it is more beneficial to mundane characters than it is to magic users. This doesn't make spellcasters less powerful, it just means that martials can have similar options to those that spellcasters have, by spending the proper downtime and money to get chipped. They are different and distinct, yet equal. So I've been talking a lot about spellcasters, but I haven't talked about how casting spells actually works. You might have a few questions, all of which can be answered with one simple concept: force. When you cast a spell, you choose the force to cast it at. Then you roll your spellcasting skill, plus your magic attribute, plus any modifiers. The number of hits determines the strength of the spell. If it's direct, the damage is equal to the number of hits you beat your opponent by, called net hits. If it's indirect, the damage is the force plus the net hits. How far can I cast it? As far as you can see. How big is the area? A sphere with a radius equal to the force. What spells can I start with? Any of them. What's my spell list? You can take any spell at any time, since there are no classes or levels. How many spells are there? About 80 in the core rulebook and about 50 more in the supplements. For a system that often gets lauded as being overly complicated, the spellcasting in Shadowrun is actually refreshingly simple once you learn the basics of Force and Drain. So what other things can we do in Shadowrun? What are the classes? Well, that's one of the neat things about Shadowrun. There aren't any.
Character creation.
You build your character from the ground up, picking individual features as you go. You can take and use any equipment you have the money and availability for. You don't have specific features prescribed to you. Your abilities instead come from your skills and qualities. Qualities are comparable to D&D feats, and skills are exactly that. Want to use a machine gun? Take the heavy weapons skill. Want to be a spellcaster? Put points into your magic attribute and take the spellcasting skill. Want to fly a jet? Take the pilot aircraft skill. Want to cut your enemies into pieces with a fucking chainsaw arm? Take the exotic melee weapon, chainsaw, skill. It's true that the character creation does take a long time for this reason, but I think that's a fair sacrifice to make for the creative freedom you get in return. Just make sure that Session 0 sets aside a few hours for everyone to make characters. Now, all of these I mentioned so far are the big reasons I love Shadowrun, but there are quite a few smaller reasons that I have yet to mention, so I'll speed through them real quick. Armor doesn't make you less likely to get hit, it reduces the damage you take when you get hit. You know, like how fucking armor works! The 4 physical attributes mirror the 4 mental attributes. Mental body is willpower, mental agility is logic, mental reaction is intuition, and mental strength is charisma. This is useful because when you're in the Matrix or the astral plane, you use your mental attributes in place of the equivalent physical attributes. Additionally, your Matrix attributes also mirror your mental attributes, and by extension, your physical attributes. So while it seems like the game has a lot of different attributes you have to learn, you can actually remember that there are mainly just 4, and the names depending on the application. Customization, holy cow! There are so many different ways to customize your gear in this game. Firearms have different firing modes, attachments, and ammunition types. Drones and vehicles can modify their powertrain, body, and circuit boards completely separately. Magicians can create custom magical foci that benefit either a specific school of magic or their whole magic entirely. Armor can be outfitted with scenario-specific protections, such as chemical or thermal reduction. Cyber limbs can be outfitted with custom stats, armor, equipment, and even concealed weapons. There is so much you can do to make your gear uniquely yours. And all of it has tangible benefits that are worth the time and money it takes to acquire. In D&D, your longsword is exactly the same as every other longsword. Hell, in 5th edition, a glaive and a halberd are mechanically identical weapons. And yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff that Shadowrun does. If you want to try it, I do have a few tips before you get started.
Getting started.
First of all, Chummer. Chummer is a program that gives you all of the content for 5th edition Shadowrun so that you can build a character. It can generate your character as a playable sheet, a PDF, or a JSON file, which we will use later. Second piece of advice, play on Foundry. Whether you're in person or online, Foundry makes rolling large amounts of dice really simple and easy to do. It also tracks modifiers such as environment, recoil, and plenty of other stuff. And the Foundry model for 5th edition comes with a Chummer import tool. It's as simple as copy-pasting the text from the JSON file we made earlier. Lastly, take it slow and take it casual. Shadowrun's an intimidating game. There's a lot you have to learn, both as players and GMs. So understand that you'll make some mistakes, but keep your head up and keep playing. So that's my whole Shadowrun rant. I'm a big fan of the game and I'd love to make more videos about it. I know it's not what my channel is known for, but if you enjoyed this video, let me know and I can make more Shadowrun videos in the future. Until then, good luck and have fun.